Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today in this video we're going to be drafting a pattern for the making of this underbust corset top with a draped cup. So if you're interested in seeing how I made it, definitely keep on watching the channel. If you're not subscribed, hit on the subscribe button and let's go into the video. As you can see, the first thing I went ahead to do was to mark the straight line across at the top. This is going to serve as our shoulder line. So from this point here, I'm going to go down to 10 inches, which is my bust point, and I'm going to mark it, and I'll also extend the line to go across. Next, still placing my tape rule at the shoulder line, I'm going to go down to 13 inches, which is my underbust measurement, and I'm just going to mark the line across as well. Then I'll go down and mark my waistline, and my waist is 16 inches, so I'll mark it here. And then the full length of this top is going to be 19 inches before I add the white ruffle at the end. So I also went ahead to mark that 19 inches. And just like I did earlier on the other points, I'm just going to mark lines across as well. So this is the shoulder line, this is the bust line here, this is the underbust line, this is the waistline, and we're just going to call this last one the top length. Now the next thing we're going to do is to come up from the bust line by 2 inches, and just like we did before, mark a line across as well. This is going to be our chest line. Now we're going to take this side as the center of our top, right? Now on this shoulder line, from the center line, we're going to divide our shoulder measurement by 2. Mine divided by 2 is 7, so I just marked it here, and I'm going to connect that point in a straight line to meet the chest line. So when you've done this, what you're going to do is to come down from this point here by 1 inch. We're trying to get our shoulder slope, so I just came down by 1 inch and got that point there. Now from the center of our top, you're going to mark how wide you want your neck to be. So I marked 3 inches, that's how wide I want the neck area to be. So I just connected the 2 points to get my shoulder slant. So the next thing you're going to do is to get the measurement you have between here, and we're going to divide it by 2 and go in by 1/2 inch. So that's what I just did here. And then on this chest line, you're going to divide your bust measurement by 4 and you're going to mark it. So I just marked mine, and now I'm going to connect my armhole with this point, and this point. Just look closely at how I'm connecting these 3 points using my cut rule. So guys, when you're through with this, the next thing we're going to do is to come from the center of our top, and on the bust line, this line here, you're going to divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. So you divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2, and you're going to mark it here. You also come down to the underbust line and mark it as well. The waistline, mark it, and also do the same thing on the top length. So I'm just going to connect all those points together like you see me doing like this with my ruler. So from this bust point here, because we're trying to get our dart, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So you get that point there, and then we'll come down to this end here, and we're going to take 0.7 inch from both sides. Don't take 1/2 inch because we're going down from the waistline. So we're going to take the line after 1/2 inch, which is this line here. So we're going to mark it, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. We will not mark 1 inch, we just mark very close to 1 inch. So we're going to connect these points now to the point on the underbust, just the same way you see me doing like this, and you do the same thing on the other side as well. So when we're through with this, our dart is ready. Now what we want to do is to work on our cup. And normally if you're doing a corset, you go around and draw a circle around using your underbust and all of that, but for this you don't really need it. So we're just going to go straight ahead and work on our cup. So what we're going to do is to come down on this chest line here about half of an inch. It depends on how much cleavage you're willing to show. So if you want more of your cleavage to show, you can come down by 1 inch or 1.5 inch. I went down by half of an inch here, and then went in as well by half of an inch as well. So when I was through with that, I'm just connecting this to give me a tiny line. You can see how small the line is here. So what I'm going to do now is to connect the end of this line I just made to my neckline. So you see the top, it has a V neckline. So that's what I just created here. So now I'm going to connect this point here to this point with my curved rule. So just like I'm doing, use your curved rule to connect this point on the neck area to meet the one on the underbust, just where the dart ended. So we have one part of our curve ready. Now the next thing is to come to this side here, this armhole area, and whatever we have in between this point, we're going to divide it by 2. Just like you see here, I got a point, and I'm just going to extend this point to get to the armhole. So it's going to be a very tiny one to meet the armhole like this. Now from this point, I'm just going to create a curve as well to meet the other part of the dart on the underbust. So guys, this is what we have, and this is how easy it is for you to get this whole cup for this kind of a top. It's very easy. Now we're basically done with this. Now what I'm going to do is on this chest line, I'm going to add 1.5 inch to the bust points that we marked earlier, and then we'll come down to this waistline, and I'll divide my waist measurement by 4 and marked it. After marking it, this dart here, what I have in between this dart here, which is about 1 inch, I'm adding that dart intake again, and then I will replace my 1.5 inch just like the same thing I did on the chest line. Now coming down to the top length as well, my hip measurement, I took the measurement around that area of my hip, and it was 32, so I divided it by 4, and after marking that point, I'm adding my dart as well, which is 1.5 inch for this end, and then I'll add the general 1.5 inch as well for stitching allowance. After that, we're just going to join all the last points that I made, all 3 of them together to give me a straight line like this. So this is what I have. This is my curve. So I'm just trying to make this place like curved, just to have that general realistic waist thing. So this is what I have. This is basically all for this first part of cutting out this pattern. So I've added stitching allowance to this and everything is ready. So I'm just going to go ahead now and cut it out. Just make sure you're looking carefully at what I'm cutting out. Now I'm going to cut out this whole curve. So this is what we had after I was done with all the cutting. Now for this top, you'll notice that the cup actually was bigger than the actual fabric. So what we're going to do is to slash and spread this so that we'll be able to have that pleating effect that we are seeing on the cup in the picture that we are using right now. So I took the measurement on this shoulder area and it's 4 inches. So I'm just dividing that by 4. So I had 1 inches around. So I'm just going to take a straight line from each of the 1 inch points, just like the same way you're seeing me doing like this. Take a straight line. You're going to take it all the way to the end of this cup so that we'll be able to slash and spread this cup. So after marking all the lines, you can see on the lines like this, we're just going to cut it, all 4 of them. So you're going to cut it just the same way you're seeing me doing like this, and you're going to stop just very close to the end so that it doesn't cut off fully. So you do it for all the lines. So now you see that this cup can easily spread out, right? Now we're going to place this on another plain piece of pattern paper. So you'll be needing a tape for this. So you're going to tape it up at this shoulder area so that it doesn't move. It has to be exactly the same measurement at the shoulder area. So you're just going to tape it up like this at this shoulder area. Then we're going to begin to spread all the other side of this. So for our very first part, what we're going to do is this place here, right? We're going to measure the distance from the end of this part to the next part and ensure that is 1 inch. So I took 1 inch distance from each of the parts. So when I'm sure it's 1 inch, I'm going to tape it down so that it doesn't move from that part. And for the next part, I'm also going to spread it out as well using that 1 inch difference that I used before, just like this. And I'm going to use my marker to mark that 1 inch point so that I will tape this down here at this point as well. While doing this, guys, it's okay to actually release the tape at the top, that's at the shoulder area, just like I'm doing like this, so that you'll be able to spread the other part out well. So just like I did on the other part, I marked that 1 inch as well, and then I'll tape it down, and that'll basically be all for the spreading of this cup. The next thing I went ahead to do was to trace out everything as it's spread like this, just like the same way you're seeing me doing it like this. Just spread out everything and remove the old one. So this other one, this new one, is going to be the pattern we're going to be using for this cup. So guys, these are all the patterns for the front piece. So this right here is the center front, this is the side front, and this is the cup. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just joining this dart area of the center front and the side front together with a tape so that I'll be able to get that slant that is in front of this top, just like you see it in this top right now. So I'm going to come down here from this line, which is our waistline, by 1 inch. You can actually decide not to come down. You can decide to just take your line from this waist point straight to the center, but I decided to come down by 1 inch. So what I'm going to do is, using my ruler, I'm just going to connect a point from this 1 inch here to meet this center right here, and we're just going to cut along this new line. So guys, this is all for the front piece. So you can see that this side here has that V-shape effect that the top we're working with has. So while I'm cutting on the actual fabric, I'm actually going to separate this front piece back. I'm going to remove the sellotape. So that's basically all for the front part of this pattern. So guys, for the back piece, I've gone ahead to draw out a basic bodice pattern, just a basic pattern for the back. You can see it has a zipper allowance. So just like we see at the back of our top, it's a V-neck. So I'm connecting from the neck now down to our neck area to the chest line to give me that V-neck that you're seeing at the back of this top. I'm just going to extend this line into the zipper area so that we have enough allowance for zip. So when you're through with that, next thing we're going to do is to come around here, this chest line. This is the chest line. We're going to divide our bust measurement by 4 like we did before in front, and you're going to connect your armhole. So you can see that I connected the armhole area of the back a little bit different from the way I did in front. So this is how you connect the armhole for the back. So after doing this, I'm just going to add my 1.5 inch stitching allowance to that, and then on this waistline, just like we did in front, I'm going to add the stitching allowance as well. So I will mark my waistline here. I'll replace that 1 inch dart that we have on the waistline just like it was in front here, and I'll add the 1.5 inch stitching allowance, and then I will do the same thing at the end of the top. So after connecting all the points together, we're just going to come down by 1 inch from the waistline just like we did before on the front, and we're just going to make a line across, and you know that we're going to have to now cut off this area just like we did in front. So this other area at the neck will be cut off as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut out every part. So you have to look carefully to know where I'm cutting and where I'm not cutting. So you can see that this top has white at the top, what we're following, and then the other part of it is Ankara. So this top area here, I'm just going to cut it off so that when I'm cutting on my pieces, this top here that I'm cutting off, I'm going to cut it off as white, and then this other part with the zipper is going to be cut with Ankara. So this is basically all for the back pieces, guys. So all the pieces are ready. These are the back pieces, and these two right here with the cup is the front piece. So guys, I went ahead to use this pattern to cut out on my actual fabric, and this is what I had. Very beautiful. So this is a sneak peek of what the final look of my top looks like. So you definitely want to stick around with me and see the next video for you to be able to see how I sew this down. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye for now.